UB Bulls fans, you want to have a chance to either celebrate, vent, or just enjoy more UB Bulls football and to talk about the game that was, well, you're in the right place. Bullseye Nation, Buffalo Bulls postgame show. John Kruba is your host, and the postgame podcast is going to start right now. UB Bulls fans, well, your wait is over. Your UB Bulls pick up their first victory of the season, and if you're going to pick the time to get your first win of the year, well, this is the time to do it. You enter MAC Conference play with a surprising and impressive commanding victory, 50-31 in Ypsilanti, Michigan, against the Eastern Michigan Eagles. Good evening, everybody. I'm John Karuba here on the UB Bulls postgame Bullseye Nation. And for UB, you got to give them credit. They have had a rough first 3 games to the season, but for them to come out and play the way they did after a couple heartbreaking defeats at the hands of both Holy Cross and Coastal Carolina, while they didn't show any ill effects from that, they came out and took control of this game right from the get-go. And it was a back and forth. It was a heavyweight fight. And ultimately, your UB Bulls, where we have seen them in the first couple of weeks, they would lose control of the game. Well, today they flipped that script on its ear and they took control of the game later on, outscoring the Eagles 10-0 in the fourth quarter and overall 20-7 in the second half to take control and get the win. So with the victory, UB is 1-3 on the season, but very importantly, they're 1-0 in conference play. Meanwhile, for Eastern Michigan, they're 2-2, but they're 0-1 in the MAC East. And this was a back and forth roller coaster affair from start to finish. The fans in Eastern Michigan, while they didn't get the results they wanted, they were treated to an offensive slugfest. And it was a game that UB definitely had to display their mettle and resiliency as they had to come back from a couple of deficits. And each time UB would take the lead, Eastern Michigan always seemed to have a response. But the important thing is they never got rattled, even after UB took the 10-point lead midway through the second quarter to go up 27-17, while Eastern Michigan came right down the field, got it to 27-24. But UB, and what else can you say about Alex McNulty? He has been near automatic, and especially from long range. He hits a 41-yard field goal to close out the half, giving UB the 30-24 edge. And really, Eastern Michigan would only take the lead one more time throughout the game in the second half when Darius Boone scored a 1-yard touchdown run to make it 31-30. And then it's really when UB turned this game on its head. Jamari Gassett with a 65-yard touchdown pass from Cole Snyder made it 37-31, and UB never looked back from there. A couple more field goals and then closed it out with a Cole Snyder 2-yard run for the 50-31 victory, improving UB to 1-3 on the season and 1-0 in conference play. So again, just an overall impressive victory. And let's take a look at some stats from the game while we have a second. And once again, UB doing their thing. They had more than a 2-to-1 ratio in terms of first downs compared to Eastern Michigan, 29-13 in favor of the Bulls. They were 5 of 14 on third down compared to just 5 of 11 on third down for Eastern Michigan. UB even more impressively 4 of 4 on fourth down compared to just 1 of 4 for Eastern Michigan. Total yards in the game, 498 compared to 327 for the Eagles. Passing-wise, huge difference in the game, 297 for the Bulls compared to 190 for the Eagles. On rushing attempts, that's another one in favor of the Bulls, 201 to 137. And I think a big one for the Bulls, we have seen them get victimized by the penalty flag with some undisciplined play. Well, in this case, they didn't. It was Eastern Michigan that found themselves on the wrong end of a lot of critical calls. Eastern Michigan had 6 flags for 63 yards compared to 3 flags for 15 yards for UB. Only one turnover in the game. Both teams did a great job protecting the football. Eastern Michigan is the only one that turned it over. It was an interception. And then time of possession, UB doing what the Bulls do. Once again, holding the ball way longer than Eastern Michigan, 38-37 compared to 21-23. So now we went over some important stats from the game. We also want to give you the plays of the game, which we'll get into right now. And that was a couple of critical second half, fourth quarter touchdowns by the UB Bulls, including the long bomb by Snyder that gave UB the lead that they would not relinquish and would prove to be the game-winning score. And then another one to tack on and really finish the game late, as these game highlights, as always, brought to you by the UB Bulls Football Network. So we will set you up now for the plays of the game right here on Bullseye Nation, the post-game show. On this 3rd down and 10 for UB, they're going to go with Snyder out of the shotgun, 2 receivers wide to the left, 1 wide right. 4 on the line for the Eastern Michigan Eagles. Man in motion, goes into the backfield. Left side, takes the snap. Snyder fakes to give. Play action. Deep down the far side. Got his man across the Eastern Michigan 35. He's at the 30. Nothing but daylight in front of him. He's at the 20. 15. Spins off a defender. 5. Into the goal line. Into the end zone. Touchdown UB. A 65-yard bomb by Cole Snyder as he hit his man in stride, Jamari Gassett, and just like that, with inside 10 minutes to go here in the 4th quarter, UB takes the lead. It's the UB Bulls 37 and Eastern Michigan 31. What a pass and what a play all the way around as your Bulls take the lead. So it'll be a 2nd down and goal for the UB Bulls here. 8:47 to go here. 4th quarter of play. UB with a 43-31 lead, really trying to steal it down the field right to left. Snyder going to work out of the pistol set. 1 running back off his right shoulder. 2 receivers to the right side of the formation. 1 left. Full line defense for Eastern Michigan. On this 2nd and goal, the snap. Fake the give, and Snyder going to take off with it to the far side. He is across the 5. He will take it out into the end zone. Finds Pater. Touchdown Bulls. Cole Snyder just doing it all today. Through the air, on the ground, and right there, he took it up the far side. Eastern Michigan did not know what hit him on that play. And for the far side, able to take it in for a few yards on the touchdown run. And with 8:44 to go here in the 4th, UB taking total control. It's the Bulls now 49, Eastern Michigan 31, as your UB Bulls closing in on their first victory of the season. And as always, we hope you enjoyed those game highlights presented to you by the UB Bulls Football Network. And before we sign off here, we want to look at the next game. But before we even do that, I want to take you a tour around the Mid-American Conference on this Saturday afternoon. And it was number 1 Georgia in a tooth and nail fight with Kent State, believe it or not, down in Georgia, but the Bulldogs ultimately showing why they're the number 1 team in the country, winning 39-22 over the Golden Flashes. It was number 8 Kentucky sweating out a 31-23 victory over Northern Illinois, so give the MAC credit. They go into these places of these top 25 teams, and they put up some battles today. Number 14 Penn State beating Central Michigan 33-14. Mississippi State beating Bowling Green 45-14. Ohio over Fordham 59-52. So Fordham showing a little bit of scrappiness in their game. San Diego State beating Toledo 17-14. It was Liberty upsetting Akron 21-12. Georgia Southern beating Ball State 34-23. Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Well, that's UB's next opponent. They pull off a victory against a Power 5 school in Northwestern, winning on the road 17-14. And San Jose State all over Western Michigan, beating them by a final count of 39-6. So that is a look around the MAC here on this Saturday afternoon. And before we sign off, just want to preview the next opponent. And as we mentioned, it's going to be the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. And it's going to be from UB Stadium. Kickoff time set for 3:30. For the Redhawks, the key is really going to be whether quarterback Gabbert can play. Again, Gabbert, one of the top teams, one of the top players in this conference. But he got injured a couple weeks ago against Kentucky. It's Brett Gabbert. So if he can start, now that totally changes the dynamic for Miami, Ohio. Then they're without a doubt the best team in the MAC East. However, he hasn't played since week 1 against Kentucky. And quite frankly, if he can't go in this one, it's still going to be a tough battle for the UB Bulls. Like we said, Miami, Ohio just went into Northwestern and won with a backup quarterback. So regardless, you're going to be in for a dogfight. The question is, how much of a battle are you in for? Depends on whether or not Gabbert can play next week. But regardless, for Miami, Ohio, they are coming in with a record of 2-2 on the season. This will be their first MAC game of the season as well. And this was really, when you talked about UB's chances of winning the MAC East and the conference this year, at least out of the East, the biggest threat is Miami, Ohio. If you are able to win this game, you go to 2-0 in the MAC East conference play, you would be in very good shape to win the MAC East division and compete for the MAC championship. So there is going to be a lot on the line, a lot at stake coming up this Saturday afternoon at 3:30 from UB Stadium, and we hope you can join us then. But for now, that is going to wrap up this edition of Bullseye Nation, the UB Bulls postgame show. One more time, your final score this afternoon. Celebrate, Bulls fans. Your Bulls finally get their first victory of the 2022 season. 1-0 in MAC East play, winning 50-31 from Rynearson Stadium in Ypsilanti, Michigan, beating the Eastern Michigan Eagles by a final count of 50-31. I'm John Kruba signing off, and until next time, go Bulls. Thank you for tuning in, and again, we'll see you again next Saturday for Miami, Ohio, and we'll see if the Bulls can pull out another big victory. Have a good night, everybody, and again, go UB Bulls, go!
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Bullseye Nation, University of Buffalo Bulls postgame podcast. Tune in next week for another exciting installment involving all things Buffalo Bulls. Until then, thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time.